My husband gaslit me for months while cheating with his intern, so I let him think he was going crazy, then took everything from him without saying a word. He wanted me to think I was going crazy. What he didn't know is that I'm a licensed therapist. And I've seen this game before. I just never thought I'd be forced to play it, on the receiving end. When your own husband looks you in the eye and calmly tells you, "You've been a little forgetful lately," while you're holding the exact set of keys he swore you lost. That's not just gaslighting. That's precision. That's calculated. That's a war. But let me rewind. I'm not the type of woman who loses her mind over nothing. I'm not the jealous, paranoid, emotional mess that some people like to paint women as when things go south. I'm a clinical therapist. I've worked with survivors of manipulation, narcissistic abuse, and psychological warfare. I know the difference between a bad day and psychological sabotage. And yet, I almost didn't see it coming. Ethan was charming, not movie star charming. Worse, real-world charming. The kind that gets job offers without applying, gets free upgrades at airports, makes friends with your family in under 5 minutes. When we met at a wellness seminar, he was representing his tech company. I was the guest speaker. I thought he was just another executive with good PR training. But he listened. He remembered details. He laughed at the right moments. And he made me feel like I was the only woman in the room, which, as it turns out, was exactly the kind of attention I didn't know I was starving for. We moved fast. Coffee became weekends. Weekends became keys. 1 year in, we were married. Everyone said we were perfect. Hell, even I thought so. But then I got pregnant. And then I lost the baby. What followed wasn't just grief. It was silence. The kind that creeps in and replaces conversations with glances. The kind that turns hugs into polite taps on the shoulder. Ethan stopped looking at me like I was his person. He started treating me like a guest in our own home. I tried to make it work. I cooked. I talked. I suggested therapy. He kissed my forehead and said, "You're overthinking again." But little things started happening. My alarm clock went off at 3:12 a.m. for 3 nights in a row. I never said it. Ethan said maybe I did it in my sleep. My favorite bracelet, a gift from my mom, went missing. I tore the house apart. 3 days later, it was back in the exact spot I'd searched first. Netflix showed shows I'd never watched. My phone background changed. Ethan told me maybe I did it when I was distracted. And the worst part? I started believing him. Because when someone you trust, someone you share a bed with, tells you you're just tired, again and again, part of you wonders if he's right. But then came the night I found the light in the kitchen on, dimmed to 10%, even though I always turn everything off. And beside the sink, there was a wine glass, red stain, lipstick. I hadn't worn lipstick in weeks. That's when my stomach dropped. Something was wrong. Not just emotionally, not just in my marriage. I was being messed with. So I did what any therapist with a gut feeling would do. I stopped reacting, and I started observing. I documented everything. Dates, times, photos. I planted a discreet camera in the hallway. Not because I suspected anything specific, just because I needed to see. I needed proof that I wasn't losing my mind. And then I saw it. It was a Wednesday. I was supposed to be at work. I had canceled last minute due to a migraine. Ethan didn't know. Through the camera feed, I watched him walk in with a girl, young, long brown hair, tight jeans, laughing like she'd been here 100 times. They kissed, on my couch, in our home. And the thing that broke me, she was wearing my sweatshirt. Not similar. Mine. I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I didn't throw things or call my best friend. I just sat there, staring at the screen. And I remembered his words. "You've been forgetful lately. You're distracted. Are you sure you didn't move that?" "No, Ethan, I'm sure. I'm sure that you're cheating on me. I'm sure you've been manipulating me. And I'm damn sure you chose the wrong woman to gaslight." So I opened my notes app, wrote the date, and typed, "Gaslight the Gaslighter. Phase 1 begins." The day after I watched Ethan bring her into our home, I woke up feeling nothing. Not rage, Not heartbreak, not even sadness, just clarity. It was like a fog had finally lifted. And for the first time in months, I could see straight. I went through our morning routine as usual, poured him coffee, smiled when he kissed my cheek, asked if he wanted salmon or chicken for dinner. He chose salmon. Of course he did, always does when he feels guilty. He left for work, and I sat down at the kitchen table and opened my laptop. No tears, no shaking hands, just a new folder titled Phase 1. You see, Ethan thought he was playing a slow game, that he could chip away at my sanity without me noticing, that I'd quietly fall apart until he had a reason to leave me, or worse, make me leave him, looking like the unstable one. What he didn't expect was that his wife had spent years treating survivors of narcissistic abuse. I've seen this exact playbook before. I just never thought I'd be living it. So I played along. I started planting small seeds, nothing dramatic. I turned off the bathroom light while he was in the shower, moved his keys to the freezer, set the thermostat 2 degrees warmer during the night. When he asked, "Did you turn off the light?" I blinked. "Number may be the bulb's faulty." He frowned, but didn't push it. It escalated slowly. He'd wake up in the middle of the night to faint music. I had installed a Bluetooth speaker in the hallway closet, timed through an app, just soft enough to make him question if he was dreaming. One evening, I casually mentioned that he'd already told me a story, one he swore he'd never said out loud. "Babe, I think you're just tired," I smiled, sipping wine. "You've been repeating yourself." He stared at me, jaw tight. Good, let him question himself for once. Meanwhile, I dug into everything. I pulled financial records, duplicated our shared bank statements, and started discreetly shifting assets into a personal account he didn't know about. I visited a lawyer, a friend of mine, for coffee, and left with paperwork outlining a separation plan and asset protections, just in case. I also installed a hidden camera near the front door and another in the living room. Not for more evidence, I already had enough to bury him, but because I wanted to know how frequently she was coming over. The answer? Twice a week, always when I was working late. Her name, I learned, was Alyssa, 24, junior marketing associate, recently promoted to Ethan's team. She wore my jewelry, she drank my wine. She left her cheap drugstore perfume all over my pillows. She smiled sweetly when we met once at a company party, said she loved my dress. I should have seen it then, but I didn't, so now she was just collateral. Ethan, though, he was the target. 2 weeks into my plan, I started pushing further, more subtle manipulations. I replaced his phone charger with a slightly broken one that worked intermittently, logged into his Spotify and cued bizarre meditation tracks between his playlists, switched the kitchen cabinet layout ever so slightly every few days. "Didn't the plates used to go here?" he asked once, opening the wrong cupboard. "Huh?" I replied. "They've always been there. You sure you're okay?" He didn't answer, but he started taking melatonin to sleep. Progress. He even brought up therapy one night. Said he felt off lately. I nearly choked on my tea from trying not to laugh. Instead, I said, "I think that's a great idea, Ethan. Want me to refer someone?" "I don't know," he muttered. "Maybe I just need to unplug for a while." "No shame in that," I said, squeezing his hand. He was unraveling, and I was helping him pull the thread. But I didn't stop there. The final straw came when I saw Alyssa bring her laptop to our house. On my camera feed, I watched her sit on our couch, barefoot, legs tucked under her, sipping from my mug, while Ethan stood over her, pointing at something on the screen. They looked comfortable, domestic. That's when I made the decision to accelerate. I left a sticky note inside his work briefcase. "We know what you did." That night, he came home pale, distracted. "Everything okay?" I asked sweetly. He nodded too quickly. "Yeah, just tired." I bet. He didn't sleep that night. I know because I didn't either. I was watching him from the hallway camera. He kept checking the windows, relocking doors, reading something on his phone, typing, deleting, retyping. By morning, he looked like he'd aged 5 years. But still, he didn't confess. He didn't break. He didn't snap. Yet. So I made sure the next push would do it. I replaced the shampoo in his bottle with conditioner. He thought he was losing hair. I hid one of his socks every morning. I turned off the Wi-Fi remotely and watched him scream at the router. And then, one night, it happened. He snapped. He came home late, eyes wild, shirt wrinkled, hair disheveled. He threw his bag down, looked at me and said, "Is someone following me?" What? I blinked, genuinely startled. I keep hearing things, getting notes, people looking at me weird. I think something's happening. I looked at him, deadpan. "Ethan, I think you're having a breakdown." His face fell, just for a second. Then he laughed, bitter. "You think I'm crazy?" "I think," I said slowly, "you need help." And I meant it, but not the kind he thought. Because in that moment, I wasn't scared of Ethan anymore. He was scared of me. He just didn't know it yet. After Ethan's breakdown in the living room, the panic, the paranoia, the quiet admission that he thought someone was following him, I knew I had him exactly where I wanted. He didn't sleep that night. I did. Like a baby. Over the next few days, I dialed everything back, just slightly. No more sticky notes, no odd music, no weird cabinet rearranging. I gave him room to breathe. That was important. Let him think the worst was over. Let him doubt whether any of it had ever happened. Let him hope. Meanwhile, I made my final preparations. I scheduled a meeting with a close friend of mine, a lawyer who specialized in asset protection and high-conflict divorces. She had seen worse than Ethan, so she didn't even blink when I showed her the footage, the financial transfers, the audio clips. She just nodded and said, "You've got enough to bury him and the side piece too." I liked her already. We started drafting the paperwork, not for a divorce just yet, but for strategic separation. With Ethan's behavior becoming more erratic, I wanted full legal control over certain assets, especially the house. With the evidence I had, it wasn't hard. She moved fast. So did I. But then, Alyssa made a mistake. She showed up at my work. I had never actually spoken to her outside of a corporate party once, where she'd nervously complimented my dress and then practically ran away. But this time, she marched right into the clinic, full of confidence and fake concern. "Hey," she smiled, stepping into the lobby. "I was wondering if I could talk to you, as a woman." I almost laughed, but I kept my face neutral. "Sure, 5 minutes." We sat in the consultation room. She looked nervous but determined. The perfect cocktail of someone lying to themselves. "I don't know what Ethan's told you," she started, "but it's not what you think." I leaned back. "You mean the fact that you've been sleeping with my husband?" She blinked. Clearly hadn't expected me to say it out loud. It was complicated. "He said you were unstable, that things were over. He said you'd threatened to hurt yourself." I tilted my head. Classic. Ethan was pulling the dangerous wife card, the mental health lie. Probably tried to weaponize my job against me. I said nothing, just smiled. That's when she made her second mistake. "I just want you to know I'm not trying to take anything from you. I care about him. And if you need help, like real psychological help, I can..." I stood up, calm, slow. "I think we're done here." She looked startled. "Wait, I didn't mean..." I opened the door. She walked out, but not before dropping one final line. "You know, he's not who you think he is." I almost told her, right then and there, but I didn't. Because soon she'd find out on her own. The next day, I set the final stage. I took one of the recordings, Ethan and Alyssa on the couch, time-stamped, with audio. I edited nothing. I uploaded it to a private YouTube link. I sent it to human resources at Ethan's company, along with the message, "I believe this violates your professional conduct policy. Thought you should know." No name, no signature, just the link. 3 days later, Ethan was placed on indefinite leave, pending an internal investigation. Apparently, Alyssa had been promoted directly by him. A fact conveniently missing from her HR file. The audit was brutal. The gossip, even worse. Alyssa tried to defend him, but then I released phase 2. Screenshots, text messages between the two of them, pulled from Ethan's synced laptop. Yes, he never disabled iCloud. Amateur mistake. Conversations filled with condescension, manipulation, Ethan coaching her on what to say, how to dress, when to cry. All of it sent anonymously to Alyssa, along with one note, "Still think he's your savior?" She quit the next week. Ethan came home drunk 3 days in a row after that. The third night, he finally said it. "I know someone's doing this to me." I stared at him across the dinner table. "Doing what, Ethan?" His eyes were bloodshot. "Don't play games. I'm being watched. Set up. You know it." I folded my napkin. "Maybe you should talk to a therapist." He knocked over his glass. Wine spilled. He didn't even flinch. "You think this is funny? You think I deserve this?" I stood up, calm, steady. "Yes." He stared. I walked upstairs, left him there in the dark kitchen. The next morning, the divorce papers were on the table. Alongside them, a copy of the footage, the texts, a list of every financial transfer I had tracked. The lawyer's card was on top. He didn't say a word, but he signed. Not because he accepted it, but because he knew, deep down, there was nothing left to fight for. I took the house, the car, the joint account. He kept his pride, though I had no idea what that was worth anymore. People think revenge has to be loud, screaming, slashing tires, airing dirty laundry. But the most devastating kind of revenge? It's quiet, it's legal, it's well documented, and it's absolutely undeniable. After the divorce papers were signed, after the house was legally mine, after the last of Ethan's things were gone, I stood in the empty hallway and waited for the feeling to hit. Relief, pride, triumph, something, but all I felt was tired. Winning still cost something. In the following weeks, I cleaned the house from top to bottom. I repainted the living room, replaced the couch, got rid of every pillow Alyssa ever touched. I changed the locks. I changed my routines. I changed everything. But one thing stayed the same. I didn't cry, not once. It was strange, watching someone unravel, not from an accident or a tragedy, but from a mirror you quietly held up until they couldn't look away. Ethan destroyed himself. I just gave him the opportunity to see it. His company let him go permanently a month later. Alyssa blocked him on everything. Mutual friends disappeared. He tried texting me once, just one word. "Why?" I didn't reply. He knew the answer. I focused on rebuilding my life. I accepted a new job offer in another city. Not because I was running away, but because I wanted to start something new. Clean slate, clean air. A place where no one looked at me like the wife or the villain or the girl who took everything. Just me. I moved into a quiet apartment overlooking a lake, bought a new kettle, new curtains, adopted a senior dog named Murphy, who snored louder than any human I've ever known. He made me laugh for the first time in months. Therapy helped too, not because I didn't know what I was feeling, but because I needed someone else to say it wasn't wrong, that I wasn't cruel, that I'd done what I had to do to survive. And the funny thing, I didn't hate Ethan, not really. I pitied him. Some people destroy themselves because they can't imagine a world where they aren't in control. And when they meet someone who sees through the act, someone who refuses to play the puppet, they panic. They lash out. They call it love, but it's not. It's fear. One afternoon, about 6 months after everything, I got a letter. Not a text, not an email. A handwritten letter forwarded through my old address. It was from Alyssa. The handwriting was neat, almost careful. She apologized for everything, for believing him, for being part of it. She wrote that she had started therapy herself, that she was trying to untangle all the ways Ethan had made her feel chosen, when in reality, she was just the next target. She said she didn't expect forgiveness, just wanted me to know I wasn't the only one who saw it now. At the end, she wrote, "You weren't the crazy one. You were the only one who stayed sane." I folded the letter and tucked it into a drawer. Not out of anger, just closure. The final nail came a year later, I was speaking at a psychology conference about gaslighting and covert narcissism in intimate relationships. It was a packed room. Halfway through, I looked down and saw a familiar face at the back of the crowd. Ethan. Older, thinner, wearing a cheap suit that didn't quite fit. His hairline receding more than I remembered. He didn't speak, didn't move, just sat there, eyes locked on me as I calmly explained how abusers manipulate reality, isolate their victims, and reframe truth as madness. When it was over, I walked straight past him, out the door, into the sun. He didn't follow. That was the moment it really ended. Not when he signed the papers, not when Alyssa quit, not when I moved out, but when I could stand in a room, tell my story to strangers, see the man who once tried to break me, and feel absolutely nothing, because the best revenge isn't ruining their life, it's living yours.